And this is a plot to kill JFK 3 years before Lee Harvey Oswald. And it's a guy named Richard Pavlick. And, the first question you really have to ask is, why don't I know this story? Why don't I know that there was a guy with 7 sticks of dynamite who was a postal worker who was trying to explode all this dynamite in JFK's face on a Sunday in 1960? Like, why did we not know that story?
Oh, I could probably just kill that guy. Like, it's a weird switch that happened. Did you get the sense, like, is this the beginning of that, or was that kind of already circulating?
And it wasn't led by, people like Richard Pavlick. It was led by religious, respectable leaders. And the Reverend Norman Vincent Peale, the Reverend Billy Graham.
So let's talk a little bit about, sort of the other side of this, the non-Kennedy portion of this, which is our would-be assassin, Pavlick here. Did you have to really dive in and find out? I mean, I don't know how much available information there was when you started looking about him.
Yeah, so let's talk about the real kind of breakout star of the book, so to speak. And this is a plot to kill JFK 3 years before Lee Harvey Oswald. And it's a guy named Richard Pavlick. And, the first question you really have to ask is, why don't I know this story? Why don't I know that there was a guy with 7 sticks of dynamite who was a postal worker who was trying to explode all this dynamite in JFK's face on a Sunday in 1960? Like, why did we not know that story? Here's the reason why you don't know it. Is on the day that it happens, it's a massive story when they catch him, right? They break the case and everything goes open. And it's about to go nationwide. It's in the Florida papers. It's all over the place because it happens in Florida, but it takes a day to go nationwide. The day that it's about to explode and go everywhere, 2 planes collide over New York City. And everyone on board the planes dies except for one kid, the sole survivor. And everyone wants to know, did the kid make it or not? What happened to him? And all the attention goes to this plane crash. And the story about Richard Pavlick goes and becomes a footnote and disappears until Josh and I write this book, JFK Conspiracy. Now, let's talk about Richard Pavlick. There's nothing on him. If you Google him and you try and find him now, you can find a couple of things that, we've obviously put the book out there. But what we were able to do is, once we found that he was arrested, is we got our hands on the arrest report. And once he was arrested, now there were files. And that's where we started going. And the beautiful part back then is, there was an investigation, there wasn't the FBI involved, and then there was local police involved. And that's where we were able to get most of our information. We were able to find out, where Pavlick was, what he did. But there are, as you'll see in the book, days where he completely goes missing. And we have no idea what happened because he's not famous until he tries to kill JFK. So we did our best to obviously piece together. And then there is one person who's really responsible. I could say his name because he deserves to be mentioned, but I do believe this postmaster, Thomas Murphy, is a fellow is a postmaster, so in the Postal Service. And he's the one who starts getting letters from Richard Pavlick. Richard Pavlick is sending him messages and sending notes. And luckily, Thomas Murphy eventually is like, I don't know, this doesn't seem good. Because at the time, one of the things Richard Pavlick does is he goes into a store and he's like, hey, can I buy some dynamite? And they're like, sure. Now, if you went and bought tons and tons of dynamite, like, you have to fill out paperwork now. We don't let you do that anymore. But back then, he buys like 10 sticks of dynamite. They're like, what are you using for? He's like, I'm going to pull up some tree stumps, which is actually something you use dynamite for back then and today. But back then, no one cared. They're like, the guy must be blowing up tree stumps. And luckily, Thomas Murphy, this unsung hero that you've never heard of, no one's ever heard of, is the guy who says, you know what? This guy's buying dynamite and he's going here and he's saying he can see where he's going in the country. He's kind of following the new president. And one thing he knows is that Richard Pavlick hates the new president. So again, I won't ruin the twist and what saves him in the end, but it's one of the reasons why we have some of the information we have about Pavlick.
Right. Yeah. I mean, man, talk about, there would be so little evidence had he been able to blow everything up with dynamite. I mean, I guess it makes you wonder, would there be the vast conspiracies? Who was funding him? Who was the secret behind this? If he had gone through with it, but instead we just have a fairly clean cut story, which is a wild one. either way. He then, well, yeah, it's tough because I don't want to give away too much. Although I will say, as a reader, I knew what was going to happen. It was fascinating to read either way. So, you know what I mean? Like, we know that it's in the title, a failed plot to kill JFK. Yeah. So we know that. But
you know he's going to live. You know he's going to make it to 1963. You know that.
Right. And so, you know, did you have a sense? I feel like there was a point, and obviously we had assassinations prior to this, but, you know, obviously the 60s was kind of when this really started exploding in America, that it just felt like there was maybe just with the turn into the Kennedy new progressive era, there was like a consciousness that certain people were like, oh, I could probably just kill that guy. Like it's a weird switch that happened. Did you get the sense like, is this the beginning of that, or was that kind of already circulating?
This is a good question. You're asking the important question, right? Which is like, why is he killing JFK, and why is this happening? And this is where you do have to understand the context of where we are in time. Because right now, you know, one of the reasons why he hated Kennedy so much is simply because he was Catholic. And right now, I'm sure it sounds like, well, that's not a reason to kill anyone. But back then, just to put it all in context, but there was a huge anti-Catholic movement that was going through the entire United States. And it wasn't led by, you know, people like Richard Pavlick. It was led by religious, respectable leaders. And the Reverend Norman Vincent Peale, the Reverend Billy Graham, they were, you know, these are the most prominent Christian ministers in the country, right? Norman Vincent Peale were the power of positive thinking. I mean, these guys were holding secret meetings to basically make sure that this Catholic young man, John F. Kennedy, would be nowhere near the White House. They didn't want him anywhere near there. And they put out messaging, and they would hold these meetings and like, how do we make sure this doesn't happen? And their belief is that JFK as a Catholic would only be loyal to the Pope and wouldn't be loyal to these United States. So they want to make sure there's not a chance he gets into the White House. At the same time, the KKK, which we all know, of course, since the Civil War, you know, in the Civil War focused all their attention on the Black community. But as the 1920s were thriving, the KKK had a resurgence, and they started expanding and realized they get more membership and more power by expanding their circle of hate. So instead of just hating Black people, they started hating Jewish people. They started hating anyone who didn't look like them. They started hating immigrants. Make no mistake, was one of the largest targets on there. And that's what they saw JFK as. He was an Irish Catholic immigrant come to take away their way of life, and no way should he be the president or reach the White House. And so when you put all this venom and all this anti-Catholic and all this is going to be the end of the world if this guy gets elected, you can't put that much venom and hatred out in the air and then be surprised when someone gets activated. Words have consequences. And sadly, as you see right now, fear is a great motivator. We live in a polarized world, and you can't hold yourself out as like, you know, throw punches, so punch them, and be shocked when people start doing exactly what you're asking. And that, to me, is what motivates Richard Pavlick to go after JFK in this moment, is all these people that are swirling up all that venom and hatred.